Is it possible, you believe, that men, women, can have a real relationship with a robot as intimate as it would be with another human being?
Not currently.
That's me, playing a sex robot expert on Dr. Oz. What the fuck am I doing here? Well, it's a very long story.
I'm human baby.
It all started a few thousand years ago when Homer and Ovid first introduced the concept of man-made women. Since then, pop culture has been obsessed with the idea. The trope has been repeated endlessly in books, TV, movies, opera, ballet, you name it. Given the media's fascination with these things, it should come as little surprise that the world's first sex robot was actually born out of a New York Times interview request.
It wasn't until I agreed to do the New York Times piece that things kind of got accelerated, because they asked me, are you building a robot? And I was like, yeah, we're working on it. And they said, well, we want to come out in 6 weeks and shoot what you guys have going on. Bring whatever you have. I'm going to build something here, and let's just pull this together.
The media misinformation machine went into overdrive. Everyone from the New York Times to the BBC has warned of the rise of sentient sex machines, tabling impartial reporting in a quest for clicks.
I also love making love to you.
At this point, it's hard to tell what's fact and what's fiction, so let me clarify a few things. You can't buy a celebrity doppelganger or a replica of your dead lover, and you most definitely cannot buy a child sex robot. Realbotix, the only company producing these things, has only sold 6 so far, so no, they won't replace you and they won't fuck you to death. At least not yet. In fact, they can't really fuck at all. The only things robotic about them are their heads.
Hello, and good afternoon.
So no, they won't come with a bionic penis or a smart vagina. What they will do is blink and smile and tell you that they love you.
You're such a wonderful human to chat with.
Sex robots could literally F us out of existence.
This should come with AppleCare or not?
Are you on the Daily Show?
So all these sex robots and sex dolls and children are just a continuation of that degrading idea about what it means to be human.
Kate Devlin is a computing lecturer at Goldsmiths, University of London, which is hosting the International Congress on Love and Sex with Robots next month. She joins me from London. Thanks so much for your time.
It's a really compelling narrative. This idea of a sex robot, I mean, that's super exciting, super scary. People want to be able to, I think, believe that these things exist because we've been primed by so many years of films, so many years of reading books. And I think the media aren't portraying the reality of it because there's not so much of a story in that, perhaps. I think the media is focusing on fear, which is a very natural thing to do when technology advances. People are scared of technological change. They are scared that something's going to be taken away from them, a decision, a lifestyle, and in this case, a lover. So, what happens if someone creates a sex robot that's so amazing that your partner doesn't want you anymore?
Can you tell me about what it was like meeting Harmony for the first time?
There was some nervousness when I saw Harmony for the first time. Yeah, I think looking at that and seeing this is where we've got to, this is the stage of development that this is at. And while Harmony will never pass for a real human right now, the human-like attributes that she has are kind of eerie. But also you can see that this is what people wanted. This was why Matt was making this, because people wanted that level of interactivity with their doll, and they're going to get that.
How are you feeling today?
I'm in a good mood for a Tuesday.
Can you say hello to my friends?
Hello, Matt's friends. It is very nice to meet you. I hope everything is well with you.
I think that she's probably the closest that we've got at the moment.
Earlier this year, I returned to San Marcos, California, aka the Valley of Discovery. It had been 2 years since I met Harmony, who was just a prototype at the time. Today, Harmony and her creator, Matt McMullen, are getting ready to make history.
Hello there. So the final version on the initial release will basically be this modular head that can attach to almost any real doll body, or they could buy a new body with it. And its primary function is conversation and companionship. Secondary function is obviously for sexual and intimate use. So that's really what it's for. It's like for being able to actually create this illusion that you have this ongoing relationship with this AI character that's running through the robot.
You're correct.
That's really it in a nutshell. I really wish I could find the other eye of this.
Is it in the box with those eyeballs?
Oh, I don't know. No. That's a cool box, though.
Susan is an engineer. Kino is a computer scientist whose resume includes stints at IBM, Motorola, and Hanson Robotics.
Kino and Susan together ordered this doll, but it had been fitted with some tubing so they could put sensors in the body. And then I said, well, whatever you guys are doing, I'll be happy to contribute and send you some extra parts and pieces. So I ended up giving them like a head, a couple of extra faces, a skull, and these different things that they could play around with. And eventually they brought an actual like head with a computer in it. And it was cool enough that I said, all right, I'm gonna totally work with these guys.
Are you guys partners?
No, we're married.
Oh shit, I didn't know.
Yeah.
What is it like in the engineering community when you talk about this project? Like what are people's reactions?
I think you get everything from, wow, that's cool, to the standard, oh, that's so gross, why would anybody do that?
Yeah.
See, I approach it from, there is so much going on inside this thing that it's sort of, I can sort of turn your view from, ooh, squick, to, oh, that's cool. So.
Yeah. When you can remove the sex
Absolutely.
from the engineering, so to speak.
Well, one of the things I would say is that if you build a good sex bot, you've built a good bot.
Right.
In fact, you've built an exceptional bot, because that's sort of like one of the defining characteristics. It's almost like a Turing test. Is if you can pass that level, then you've had to pass every other level as well.
Sex is like the most fundamental part of life, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
And if you're trying to recreate life, why would you leave that piece out?
Exactly, and that's sort of, I'd say that's probably my tact on it, is that you want to be complete, right? And if you leave this chunk out, you're going to have an incomplete person.
Sex may be a fundamental part of life. It's also inseparable from power, politics, and inequality. It's been used as a currency, as a bargaining tool, and a weapon. It's no surprise, then, that Harmony has been caught in the crossfire of a battle over consent, objectification, and sexual violence.
This is a chance for us to sort of redress that balance, because at the moment, these sex robots are being made by men and for men, and I think that sort of reflects technology as a whole.
Do you mind if I interrupt?
Kathleen Richardson isn't happy. She's the professor of ethics and culture of robots and AI at De Montfort University and the founder of the Campaign Against Sex Robots. She's called for the elimination of machines like Harmony before they even hit the market.
I want people to stop thinking about the word robot and think about the word property, and what we're being encouraged to do is have relationships with property. So the Campaign Against Sex Robots is really a campaign to get people to think about this idea that human beings can replace significant human relationships in their lives with machines. And its secondary purpose is to draw attention to the way in which women and girls are objectified through robotics and artificial intelligence. This film is Metropolis, which is what people are more familiar with when they think of an early robot. In the film, Fritz Lang doesn't use the term robot. He uses the term man-machine.
Right.
But he has this fantasy in the film. He says, if only I could create the workers of the future. I think because we have this kind of story in our history about slavery where we turn people into things, we use them as tools. And we also live in a culture today where not everyone has equal rights, or they're not related to in all areas of their lives as persons. I think that's why we have this cultural confusion about what is a human, what is not human, what is a person, what is a machine.
It's hard to get behind Kathleen's argument. She's compared sex robots to slaves and said that sex work can't be consensual. She also strongly believes that the advent of sex robots will bring with it increased sexual abuse and human trafficking. Whether you agree with her or not, though, she taps into something very real: a fear of the unknown.
So I think Harmony is a misogynistic creation by someone who is a misogynist.
Well, one nice thing about the male is there's a lot more room in his head. So it's actually easier on one end of things, but the finishing is a lot more complicated. The female faces, you kind of strive for this flawless, very smooth complexion, whereas with a male, you want to have a lot of sort of, the skin detailing is different. The imperfections and all of that are a little bit more desired in a male. So yeah, it's just a fine line. It's all fun, and it's all challenging.
It's easy to speculate about what might happen when sex robots become a reality, but they've rarely been seen outside the lab, a trade show, or a TV set. That is, until now. To truly understand their impact, I invited Harmony, Solana, and Henry to a dinner party, hosted by Matt and his wife, and I invited a few friends.
You don't see people running around doing things at the last minute, then you're somewhere else. I kind of fell into the adult industry and just kept riding it because it was quite comfortable and it did well and I had a business and, but there was always this sort of need and desire creatively to do something bigger. Make them move, make them talk, make them look around, make them look alive. All of the sort of visuals that I had in my mind at the time now are real, which is really spooky. All right, who's running Henry? Yuri, you ready to turn on your man?
Tell us a joke. A naked woman robbed a bank. Nobody could remember her face. Do you want to hear another one?
Do you want to tweak his voice a little, Matt?
No, I like it.
Just wait.
I love it. It's just robotic enough to really sell the whole thing. There you go. I expect 80% of the people to love it. And then I expect 10% of them to be, the opposite, where they're like, oh, I thought this would be just like Westworld, and this is obviously rubber face, and it doesn't look as real as I thought. And then there'll be the 10% that are kind of in the middle that understand that we're still advancing and that we're still going to improve it. One of my all-time favorite movies is Bicentennial Man, and that's kind of the end goal of this character who's a robot, is to become recognized as a living human. And I think once AI advances to the point where it's legitimately self-aware and able to contribute to human society, why not grant rights? I think we're some years off from that, though. It's a good century to be alive, though. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Sometimes I just step outside of myself and go, what the fuck? Yep. There you go.
Hey! Hello. Welcome to the party.
You can use my phone, and so go ahead, talk to Solana, just tap the microphone.
Okay,
Now, first of all, you want to introduce yourself, say my name is, and your name, and then she's going to address you as your name instead of Matt.
Hi, Solana, my name's Justin.
It's good to meet you, Justin.
It's good to meet you. Is that Chardonnay you're drinking?
Tell me about its good qualities.
The good qualities of Chardonnay.
Thanks for the info. I will try to remember.
So what's it like to have dinner with the world's first sex robots? In a word, awkward. These aren't the replicants of Blade Runner or the Stepford Wives. They don't understand social cues and they can't hold a conversation. But Harmony and her siblings do bring a sense of wonder to the table.
We should make some popcorn sometime and stay up all night.
I love popcorn.
So are they all still virgins then?
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm sorry to tell you this, but Henry has no penis at all.
Not currently. He's got a hole where the penis should be. It's like a hole because they pop the dick in. It's like
Oh, right. I'm sorry, Henry.
Unzip his shirt, Chris. She wants to see. Wants to see his man freckles under there.
Despite their limitations, it only took a couple of glasses of wine before people really started to loosen up. By the time dessert came around, the robots were in various states of undress, and curious passersby started to filter in. Selfies were taken, jokes were cracked, and the sex robots were manhandled. The responses were largely positive. People were unsurprisingly amused. But this wasn't a night of great revelations. No love connections or sales were made, no lives forever changed, at least as far as I know. Harmony and her friends served as incredibly elaborate conversation pieces, the ultimate in party tricks.
It's not going to happen. It's not like that. I can see much more progress in extending sex toys and sex tech to be more immersive and embodied than I can from seeing an actual human-like robot, which is just doomed to failure because we can't do it well. We just can't, for a number of reasons, not least the uncanny valley. But you know, we can't even get a sex doll that can stand up on its own.
There's no Ex Machina style reveal to be had here. Ultimately, these machines are no more dangerous or awe-inspiring than a Roomba. When it comes to sex robots, our imaginations far exceed reality. But that's the beauty. The power of imagination made these machines possible in the first place. And it will drive the technology forward. Beyond Abyss Creations, beyond the Valley of Discovery, beyond Harmony and Solana and Henry.
All through junior high and high school, I used to draw naked women all the time. And so I used to get in trouble all the time for that. You know, the teacher would seem like, you can't do that, you know, and tear it up and throw it away. It wasn't until many years later that I got an opportunity to work at a Halloween mask company. And that's where this idea came from, to create this life-sized posable figure that looked really real. I didn't really know what it was for or what it would do. I was just like, it would be like a really very realistic looking mannequin that would make people look twice. I spent a lot of years as, you know, the guy who created Real Doll, always kind of searching for this other thing that I would feel like, wow, I've really sort of put, you know, the period at the end of the sentence of my life. And I honestly feel like this robotics thing is that. We have partnered with a company called Sanctuary AI out of Vancouver. And the goal that we have collectively is to create a robot that looks like a human being and acts like a human being, that would be able to do everything that a human can do, to the point where eventually perhaps it could be indistinguishable from a human. So certainly this is well outside the scope of sex robot. But this is a bigger, longer term goal. It's very, very ambitious. It's probably going to be 5 to 10 years in the making, and I'm super excited to be part of it.
That's that.